Hey guys, Greg here. I'm back home from the Specialized product launch. I know that in the last video I said I'd be getting one more update up from the event. Yeah, sorry about that. My dog ate my homework, Mercury was in retrograde, there was a huge storm that diverted our flight home to lovely South Dakota. Anyway, long story short, the day 2 video didn't happen. Sorry. However, there is still a lot to tell about the rest of the launch, so let's dive right in. First, I showed you all a quick peek at the new women-specific Helga fat bike platform. Now, a lot of you are probably thinking, hey, that looks an awful lot like a fat boy. And that's what I thought too when I first saw it. So I asked the women's team, hey, what makes the Helga different from the fat boy?
What's really unique about Helga specifically is the geometry and the standovers.
What really sets the bike apart is the standover.
Standover. The standover on the 15-inch Helga, for example, is almost 3 inches lower than the 15-inch Fat Boy. And why, I asked, is standover so important?
Lady bit protection.
Go on.
So I know if you've ridden in snow that looks really packed down and then you step off your bike and you sink. You're gonna jam your lady bits into your top tube and it's not fun. So what we did is we really looked at standover as a really important part of the bike, right? So that when women of any height, right, are stepping off the bike, they want to put their foot down and they sink into the snow, that they have the confidence of knowing that they're not going to like hit right into the top tube of the bike. So probably the most important part of that bike. So thinking about like the rider experience, when we talked to a lot of female riders, that was their response, was standover. I really want standover on this bike.
Well, you heard them. In addition to standover, the Helga has a slightly shorter reach than the Fat Boy, narrower bars, a women-specific Myth saddle, and the small Helga is rocking 165mm fat bike cranks, which Specialized created specifically for these bikes. Alright, now I believe it's time for another round of
question and answer.
Here's another one from Brian. He wanted to know if Specialized is going to do any more collaborations with Ohlins suspension after their work on the demo turned out so awesome. Yes, the Enduro now has Ohlins suspension on it. I didn't get to play with it, but it's Ohlins, so you know it's top shelf. And you can get this shock aftermarket and retrofit it onto any Enduro going back to the 2012 model year. Next question. So Steven asked if Specialized has any plans to introduce brain technology onto the Camber line of bikes. Dude, check it out. Brain, 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 brain. We're really used to seeing the brain in the ERIK'S line of cross-country race bikes. It differentiates between the forces from pedaling and the forces from the ground to get a really efficient pedal platform, but give you control and comfort over bumpy terrain. Well, for the Camber, Specialized is introducing the next iteration of the brain, designed to be position sensitive. It works like this. The standard brain completely locks out of the suspension at the top of the travel. So if you've ever ridden a bike equipped with it before, you know that split second after you hit the bump where you feel the shock open up and blow through the travel. Well, when you set up a bike's suspension, you want to utilize somewhere in the neighborhood of 25% of the suspension travel for sag, which keeps the bike from feeling like a jackhammer when it rebounds. This position-sensitive brain takes sag into account. It's active through that first 25% of travel, so when you hit small bumps that wouldn't necessarily trip the brain on the ERIK'S, this bike can roll straighter and with more control. Then, when you hit a bigger bump, the shock opens up just like the old brain. The pedal platform still feels like it used to. The small bump control is just a little more nuanced. And now the Camber just became a more race-ready bike. Next question. I had several people ask this in some way or another, and that is why some women's bikes only have one water bottle cage when the men's version of the same bike has 2. Like, do they think women get less thirsty than men? Well, I did some investigating, and it looks like Specialized has gotten that question too, because now bikes like the Ariel and Jet are rocking a second bottle mount on their seat tube. But there are still some bikes like the Jinx that don't. So I asked Amy Nelson, the women's mountain bike product manager, what's up with that?
Obviously standover is really important, especially for creating a good experience for smaller riders, or just to have that confidence.
Mm-hmm.
How do you balance giving riders that great standover against things like having enough room for 2 bottle cages, or having enough room for a 75mm dropper post to be able to work?
Totally.
What goes into making those decisions? Because sometimes they're hard decisions.
Oh, they are hard decisions, and we debate all the time. So internally, that is definitely, it's something that you have to talk about up front. So at the beginning of a project, when you're kicking off the project, a lot of times those have to be decided, and that's us knowing the rider first, right? And so specifically, you know, on all of our women's mountain bikes on the performance side, we try to at least fit one water bottle in the down tube, as long as we're able to reach our target geometry. And luckily we have really great engineers. We're able to achieve that. And so that is for our performance mountain bikes. But when you look at, you know, a Jinx bike and that sort of thing, it's an entry-level bike. And a lot of times those riders are new and they value standover. So a size extra small, or medium. Standover is really important to them. And yeah, you know, they might maybe on the size medium if they're an adult and they do want 2 water bottles. But what we've heard through research is standover is number 1. And then color. Usually color is number 1, and then standover, and then being comfortable on the bike is important. So it is part of our product development, you know, process in the way we research. But for us, you know, it's always that is a challenge. Like, how can we fit another water bottle? How can we give riders as many water bottles? So sometimes, you know, what we currently have, it's a challenge for the future. I personally feel that way.
So that's it for the day 2 recap. Stay tuned for the day 3 recap, probably coming tomorrow. Anyway, it'll be here soon. So until next time, have a good ride.
Huzzah!